Well, Young Justice fans, we have a San Diego Comic-Con update, and quite honestly, it's not exactly what we were hoping for. Let's take a couple minutes to talk about what DC seems to be bringing to Comic-Con this year, how this could impact the future of Young Justice, and who thinks the show is the #1 DC animated series in the last 20 years. Now, before we do that though, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and ring the bell for all the updates. We do daily Marvel and DC videos, and we want to be your place for all the superhero news, but we're going to bring it to you truthfully and transparently so you are in the know. Well, I guess it's time for another Young Justice newsletter, and probably the biggest thing we can talk about today is San Diego Comic-Con. Many of us have been really hopeful San Diego Comic-Con would be where we finally get some news on a potential 5th season of Young Justice. But based on the schedule that I'm seeing, well, quite honestly guys, I am not optimistic. Now, on the upside, there is a lot of DC animation happening there. Batman Caped Crusader is going to get a premiere episode, the Penguin's getting a panel, Superman and Lois are getting a panel, as are My Adventures with Superman, along with Harley Quinn and Kite Man. So DC is going to have a huge presence, especially on the animated front. But nowhere in any of this news is there a single mention of Young Justice. Now, DC has some other panel opportunities to potentially make this announcement, but Young Justice itself basically got 0 slots in the upcoming convention, and honestly, this brings a pretty high level of worry for me of whether we're going to get any news. San Diego Comic-Con and other conventions are typically where we find these things out. It's a high-profile environment and allows the hype really to get out there. But it appears right now DC is only bringing currently running or projects about to be released to this year's Comic-Con, so it appears as of right now there's no Young Justice. Now, on the upside, this is what David Zaslav does and something he established last year, so we might not want to read too much into it. He has said multiple times, if a project is going to a convention, it's about to be released, not to be announced. Meaning they're there to present material, and they're also paying for that space. So I think in the mind of executive leadership at Warner Brothers, basically, if a show's about to be released, they're willing to pay to have it put into the con, but if it's not, well, they're looking for other avenues to make these announcements. Now, considering they dropped announcements for all their Crisis movies or Watchmen on social media, at this point, I'm really starting to feel like that San Diego Comic-Con or New York Comic-Con or even WonderCon are not going to be the places that if we get an announcement, they'll finally show up. Unless, of course, we get teased with the arrival of Greg Weisman, and then all bets are off. Now, I know this is bad news for us Young Justice fans, but it's pretty clear to me that fans are still in love with the show, and honestly, I'm super confused on why DC is not paying attention. As a matter of fact, recently, Comic Book Resources did a countdown of all the DC shows since about 2011, ranking each one up to a #1. And guess what the #1 show was for DC basically in the last 15 years? It wasn't Harley Quinn, it was indeed Young Justice. Now, first I want to thank Comic Book Resources for flagging the show this way and giving it the exposure that definitely helps our case. If I was guessing, a lot of outlets would probably put Harley Quinn at the top of that list due to its popularity, but this does reflect how much love this show gets, and it is a pretty big outlet to make the case for why the show would return. This is another big space, making it really clear this is everybody's favorite show and needs to come back. So hopefully this draws some attention to the executives at DC and Warner Brothers Animation, specifically you, James Gunn, and maybe we can finally get some news on a season 5 of Young Justice, because quite honestly guys, fans are sick of waiting. Now, we've got a whole new series of Young Justice videos coming your way, so make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We're going to talk about potential characters for season 5, some great spin-off ideas, and other mysteries of Earth 16, so if you're ready to stay whelmed, this is going to be the place.